Hi everyone, my name is Peltola and I'm going to talk to you today about new work launched by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development on how to measure the impact of trade on gender equality. International trade has been criticized for leaving people behind, and among those, many are women. The gender impacts of international trade have been a subject of research for quite some time, but we lack regular comparable statistics on the topic. In 2018, some trade policy colleagues came to talk to us saying we need statisticians' help. Countries had just committed to more gender-responsive trade policies, but every time politicians met, they complained how they cannot do much without data. If we look at the Global Development Agenda, the link between the economy and gender came in rather late, trade and gender even later. The 2030 Agenda does mention equitable trading systems, but the Addis Ababa Action Agenda was the first to refer to the link between trade and gender and to call for data. The economic aspects of gender equality often focus on labor force participation, so a lot is still left unmeasured. We've assessed the coverage of the economic aspects in some global gender inequality indices in a recent paper, so the link is available here on the slide. For a long time, trade policy was considered gender neutral. Today, we know that the impact of trade is transferred through current structures and inequalities of societies. Neutral trade policy would be only likely to reinforce existing imbalances. Since the signing of the Buenos Aires Declaration on Trade and Women's Economic Empowerment in late 2017, lack of data for gender-responsive trade policy became the hot potato of debate. That's quite unusual for statistics. So what are the issues at stake? Social and cultural norms, health and motivations may influence how people participate in trade. Available resources or constraints also play a key role, such as education, time use, economic rights, and so on. Statistics are also needed on the roles women and men have in trade as producers, consumers, business owners, or managers. Trade may provide new business and employment opportunities. It can improve working conditions or make them worse at times of tight competition. Women are often involved in informal work, and some jobs are more vulnerable to changes in international trade than others. Trade may bring income, new consumption opportunities, and contribute to economic empowerment. Equal participation in trade is also shown to contribute to better trade performance of the country. Trade policy is in the middle here, as it may influence all the other elements and interactions. For that reason, having better data for trade policy would be essential. After the literature review, we wanted to define what is meant by gender-focused trade statistics. We also held meetings with trade policy makers to discuss data gaps, and we reviewed available data, statistical frameworks and capacities that we could build on. The UN Statistics Division has developed the EDGE framework on measuring entrepreneurship from a gender perspective with its partner organizations, and we found it very helpful as it looks at determinants, outcomes, and impact of entrepreneurship on women. So we filled the elements of the EDGE framework with the issues identified by research. Additionally, we also applied the World Bank framework on the economy and gender that adds institutions and policies into the picture. So here is how the framework looks like. It provides some ideas on the data that will be useful for analyzing gender and trade. We've already got a lot of the data mentioned. That's why trade policymakers often have difficulties understanding why we don't just disaggregate trade statistics by sex and give them the figures. But there is no gender variable in trade statistics. Compiling such statistics will require linking of data across statistical domains, data that are collected for different purposes using different samples, statistical units and concepts. It will not be easy, at least not easy to do in good quality, as the Dilbert case here underlines, but we must try. This is also the tendency nowadays. There are more and more cross-cutting data needs that need to be filled by statisticians. We can't hide in our boxes anymore. Finally, we do this new work jointly with national and international statisticians, but also in collaboration with trade policymakers. And we are pilot testing the measurement framework with interested countries. Finland, for instance, has been very active here and made some interesting findings. With the UN Women, we're looking at gender impacts of trade agreements. We'll be launching a project with the EU Commission for better data on gender and trade in the EU. The OECD, the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, and the Asian Development Bank have also been very active in this area recently. We'll start a project to develop gender and trade statistics in Eastern Europe and Africa jointly with UNECE and UNECA next year. We're looking for interested countries and partners to work with us. I tell you, there can be surprises. Even the Nordic countries have not yet achieved gender equality in trade. So hopefully this work will help us inform trade policy with reliable statistics on women's empowerment through trade in the future. Thank you so much.